Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Andy and Chad. How was your guys' week this week?
Well, 3 hours with the Board of Education on Monday night, 3 hours of the County Commission on Tuesday morning, and then because I wanted to go to my kid's concert, not getting wrapped up until almost midnight last night, I'm tired.
Yeah. What concert was that, Chad?
Chisholm Middle School Choir.
Very cool.
Yes,
Very cool.
It was excellent. I took a video of the joint choir. That's kind of my habit, and it should be hitting my YouTube and the Kansan.com sometime today.
And for your YouTube channel, what can people do to look you up, follow, and subscribe to you?
Chad Fry, the Kansan guy.
Okay. Just look up Chad Fry, the Kansan guy.
Yep.
And that's where you're going to find Chad.
Yeah. And honestly, I funnel a lot of the linkage, whatever. I funnel a lot of that through the Kansan just because it's a resource. And, straight up, I set up that channel because I was tired of losing stuff every time we had a corporate change.
So does the Kansan have a YouTube page?
No,
okay,
not anymore.
So if you're looking for the Kansan or anything about the Kansan,
not anymore.
Go to Chad Fry, the Kansan guy.
And that's why I set it up the way I did. I just went outside of our email networks and our networks and all that stuff and just made sure that I had control of it. And when there's a change, I'll still have control of it. And I know that there's some folks within the corp that's probably not real happy that I did it that way, but I just got kind of tired of that. I lost, in our last change, I lost a lot of YouTube stuff, including a lot of stuff that was private, because it was all that was intertwined and it was all about the email addresses I was using to sign up and log in and everything else. And I just said, I'm not doing that again. I lost a great documentary I made, and I'm tired. I'm still butthurt over that.
I saw you were looking for a word, and I was thinking, this is a PC show, Chad.
The motor's backfiring.
Okay, Andy, what do you got? Good week?
Really good week. Love the holiday season, but there's so much going on in my personal world with some of the things I'm a part of and some of the companies I get to, one in particular is my main focus, and I get to operate, and we've got lots of risk out there. It's been a tough 3 or 4 years since COVID hit. We're hopefully going to see the light here soon, but it's been business is fun. It's got its own challenges, and then you've put some of the community stuff on top of that, and the main thing is the family stuff, and there's some dynamics that I really need to pay attention to. So just reviewing the year, looking forward, writing my notes to myself, what we did good, what we did bad, what we could do differently. Things I wanted done a year and a half ago are barely coming around now. Take an evaluation and why, and what do we need to do to speed things up. So I'm in one of those reflection modes right about now. About December 15th, it hits real hard till the end of the year. And by, the day after Christmas, I'll have all my goals for next year completely solidified, and we'll take a deep breath for 4 or 5 days, and then we'll get after it. So I'm in a good space, challenged though. And I tell you what, the American dream is real, but it ain't free.
No, it probably takes more hard work now than what it did before.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think we have more resources and tools, but if those of us, everybody can choose to be a part of the story. But when you're really trying it, and I've been blessed enough to do what I'm doing for about 17 years now, in total. The risk is real, and it's everything. You could you got kids and stuff. It's a little different because we have to make sure they got a foundation and some stability. But when you're really playing it and the big things come down the pipe and you have to either poop or get off the pot, and you choose to sit on it and go, boy, whew, yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, it's been fun. Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, at the end of the day, the big man always takes care of me, and I know that everything's going to work out. So.
Well, and it's the truth. Big risk, big reward.
Yeah.
Little risk, little reward.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is spot on. In my observation of society, I would say that most people don't want to take the risk. They would much rather take the small risk and then have little reward with no loss than to take a big risk, potentially lose. I mean, it's hate to say it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But it's a gamble, and it's life, and you only got so much time. You only live once, so it is what it is. I went to the Parade of Lights. That was good. It was cold. I enjoy doing that when every year, and it always gives me a chance to, see all the people that are participating in the community. And it's like we said on the last program when we were encouraging people to go. It's just something that's very nice to have in our community. Lots of people show up no matter how cold it is, and I hope you made it. Something interesting that popped up on my radar as I was looking for things to cover on the program this week locally was that I guess there was a mountain lion spotted in North Newton next to the interstate.
Wow.
What are you guys' thoughts on that? Do you think it was a real mountain lion? There was no pictures. There's no physical evidence to say that this was the case. So is it the case? Do we have a mountain lion living in North Newton, Chad?
I don't know, but it's not the first time that there's been a mountain lion in this area. Supposedly. Just saying.
They're pretty elusive creatures.
My brain started spinning, so I went and checked on in my archives, and I didn't find the story I had hoped to find. It's in our archival hole. But this is not the first time in the last 20 years that something like this has popped up.
Yeah. Andy, you ever seen a mountain lion?
I've never seen a mountain lion.
You never been to Sedgwick County Zoo?
Yes. Actually, San Antonio Zoo actually.
So you've seen a mountain lion before,
Well, yeah. In the wild, I haven't. There was some bobcats, I believe. That's still not normal for this area.
Yeah.
But here's how that worked for me. Bobcat apparently got hit on this intersection right next to us. Talked to my neighbor. He talked to another neighbor who said there was another one hit on this other side. So that means there's a whole bunch of them because we never have that happen.
Oh, yeah, there's bobcats around.
But I've never seen them, and I didn't see any of the two that were hit, so I don't know. I take their word for it. I don't know where it comes from originally, and I don't know any of that, but I would be watchful, especially if you have little ones in the backyard that don't understand danger or are more, I mean, a bobcat even, but a mountain lion?
Yeah.
I mean, that would get any of us.
Yeah.
And with not too much problems.
Hey, and you won't even know it's there.
Yeah. Oh, they'll get you from behind.
Yeah.
So my pistol wouldn't do much. I would try to get to it, but boy.
I tell you, so two things, right? Having come from Western Kansas and then working on the largest sheep farm in Kansas at one period of time, there's a point where they all go out to pasture, okay? And you can definitely tell if there's a mountain lion around because they will, if they do prey on wildlife like that or a sheep, they will drag the whole thing up into the tree.
Wow.
And so if you think about it, with an average sheep about 135 to 165 pounds, well, how many grown people are about that weight? And this animal has the ability to snatch it, to drag it up into a tree and keep it up in a tree, so that way no other predators or any other species can get to the line, their kill and do it. So I would say I've seen mountain lions before. They are very elusive and difficult to catch. They're very difficult to trap. They're very difficult to track. So it's not. I'll say it's definitely not something that blows my mind to think that because of the food source that's provided through domesticated animals like cats and other things like that, and then chickens, and just, I mean, it's kind of a safe haven. And because they're so elusive, good luck trying to catch up to them. So, yeah, I mean, I was at the zoo one time, not to another story here, but I was at the zoo one time, and we were at the Sedgwick County Zoo. Love the Sedgwick County Zoo. Always have a yearly pass. we went to the mountain lion area and the cougar, if you want to call it that, and we were looking all over the place for this thing. It's like, where is it at? Where is it at? It's got to be out here somewhere. And then all of a sudden I look up and it's sitting on a tree just staring down at me. And it I would have been done, And I think it knew, look at this sucker. If there wasn't this glass here, I'd be all over him and his kid. so
There
while
ain't
the
nothing
animal,
you can do about it, huh?
and they
All
were
he
just,
needed was his fork and spoon.
I mean, I wonder, looking from the top down, do I look appetizing, guys? I mean, okay, another local thing I wanted to, and Chad might be able to do this because I don't want to screw this up, so I'm kind of putting Chad on the spot. But it's the time for local chamber checks. Okay, and from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can go into the chamber office, you can pay money for chamber checks, which act as gift cards to be able to go and shop local, obviously, or participate.
Chamber members.
So chamber members. Okay, so there's an opportunity to do that. It's just for a blip of time. So if you're hearing me now, you're hearing about the chamber checks, and you're interested, or maybe it's something that you normally do but you haven't done yet, get in there, make sure that you get your chamber checks, and then go and shop local.
Yep.
For the
great
Christmas
stocking
season.
stuffers right there.
Stocking stuffers, yeah.
Yep.
So, and I don't know how long they're for. I mean, surely there's not like a cutoff point. I'm sure you can't go in and say, "Hey, I've saved up on chamber check for the last 5 years and I want to spend them all today," but they're participating. So there's probably a cutoff point, but at the same time, support local. It's a great way to support your local Newton area chamber of commerce. It's a great way to support businesses that participate in it. It's just it's a bump for our community, and it's something that we do internally. So just make sure and do that, everybody. Anything else you want to add, Chad, on that? Andy, chamber checks?
It's awesome.
Have you ever participated in the chamber check deal?
I have not, unfortunately.
Okay, maybe this year is the year.
Probably.
Yeah.
Not. It's a new system. I don't like to try to figure out new systems.
It's been a number of years, but yes, I've participated.
Very good. And I'll say I need to do it. Go $20 stocking stuffer if you got it. Make sure you put it in there. It gives people the ability to go and spend. Okay, speaking of Christmas time and buying stuff and everything else, the missus and I were talking about things, and I said, I'm just a guy that likes to give money. And the reason I like to give money is because I don't want to spend money on something that somebody doesn't want. I could ask for a list or something like that, but to me, just giving money to empower that person to go and spend, get a Christmas gift that absolutely they want, take ownership of. Am I a Scrooge?
You're practical. There's your answer. You're practical, right? And maybe it's just my years talking, and I hope I have some more years left, but. This year was very difficult for me when I went through my birthday, because everybody's asking me, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" I didn't want anything. I just didn't. I mean, it's like material things, just nah. And so there was a member of my family that resorted to cash, and. So what they did, and I thought it was really kind of smart, they kept asking me what I wanted, and then they started asking me questions like, well, if you're not with your kids, where would you go out to eat in Wichita? And I'm like, since that never happens, I don't know.
I haven't conceptualized that yet.
Right? and then I made a comment. I said, there's this new place in town that I'd kind of like to try. I just haven't been able to make that happen yet. So they went to the new place in town and asked about gift cards. They didn't have gift cards, but they got a business card, and they attached it to a decent sized bill and said, here's your date night. Truth of the matter is, I can use that money for anything I want, but the suggestion is that I take my wife out to dinner. Yeah. There's just, I don't know how many people there are out there like me who just look at these holidays and are like, there's nothing material I really want.
Me.
You know,
I mean, that's me. I want everybody else to enjoy their time.
Just-
I enjoy my time if my kids enjoy their time. So if it's me that can take back and say, hey, I don't need anything, I don't want anything, I actually get more enjoyment out of watching everybody else receive gifts and be happy. That's just my role in it, I guess. I never want anything. I never ask for anything. It doesn't matter what it's for or how it is. And I rarely buy things.
All that
I'm not a consumerist.
All that said, if by some grace of God, Derek from Vice Grip Garage happens to catch a clip from this show, catch this one, I want that Nova.
He should just gift it to you.
Well, he's giving it away.
My
I
goodness.
want to win the Nova.
Think about the publicity you could get off of HCTalk with that.
My kid wants to win the Nova. It would be a great Christmas gift. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Andy, okay, we talked about it last week. If I remember correctly, you said, you're not really the gift buyer, that the missus does a good job with that.
Yeah.
But
I'm horrible,
I
man.
mean, being egotistical, I just have a question. Is Lance a Scrooge? Because I'm thinking money and not gifts. I don't like projecting on there. I don't think there's a good way to be able to say, well, what do you want? And then there not be some kind of knowledge of what you're going to get. I'd rather you just tell me, what do you want? And I'll go buy it. But that kind of takes the excitement out of the whole deal.
Yeah, that's
funny. Well, and that's the thing is, I'm not a wasteful spender, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, maybe I'm a Scrooge, maybe I'm Bah Humbug. I mean, I was watching A Christmas Carol the other night with the family because it is Christmas
familiar?
time. Well, everybody was looking at me going, "Hey, that's Lance," and it's like, really? You guys are killing me, man. It's like, well, you're a penny pincher. And it's like, yeah, because I got to provide for all of you. Well,
Amen,
of course
brother.
I'm a penny pincher. When do you need
I
shoes
feel
and
that
food
one
and
right
clothing?
there.
It's like, it's not for me. This life right now is not about what Lance wants, but about what my family needs and wants. And I'm glad that I'm somebody that can say, I get enjoyment and satisfaction out of buying the kiddos a pair of shoes, or making sure that the electric is on, and making sure that the internet works, and making sure, I make jokes about it too. I say, like, Lance, will you buy me this? I don't know. You want to play on the internet? You like that internet, don't you? But okay, so I long-winded, but Scrooge or no Scrooge, Andy? Is Lance a Scrooge?
No, I think I can relate to you in a lot of ways. I just asked Stacy yesterday what she wanted for Christmas. And I said, if you don't tell me, I'm just going to grab you a pair of shoes, and you might not like them. So you might as well just tell me what you want. And she finally did, after literally an hour worth of, back and forth, sent me two things. And then it was, I really like this. So it's cool. I'm going to do that. She takes care of the kids' stuff. I appreciate all that taking care of and all that stuff. I don't do that. But I'm the guy that says, we were going to do the New York Times Square thing this year, leaving out on the 26th.
Cool.
And be there till the 1st and watch the ball drop.
Very cool.
Right there in a hotel, because I don't want to be down amongst everybody, but with a window view of where we could see all this.
Go out on the balcony and be cold out there.
And just hang out and have the drinks in the hotel already and all that stuff, and just hang out as a family and do that checklist. It's on the checklist of things. And we're postponing that to next year. And so it was going to be less gifts, trip together. Everybody will get something, but that's what we were going to do as a memory creator for ourselves. And there's only 4 of us, so it's not too crazy. But I'm the guy that has to say no. Sorry, guys, it's not there. We can't do it. And therefore, how am I going to go and want to do stuff and get stuff myself when I'm cutting these things that I know will be a lifelong memory, that one day when they're old, they'll be like, gosh, my parents figured that out.
Yeah.
And we do things like that from time to time, but this is just not the time. With everything I just said earlier, we got a lot of risk out there, and they're going to have a great Christmas, but I have to be the guy to cut off the hand. Because could we go theoretically? Abso-freaking-lutely. But is it smart to do that? Hell no. I'm the guy that drives the jankety cars. I'm the guy that, is everybody eating when I get home? Is everything else left for me? Does anybody need anything? And I find pleasure in that. I really do. I'm not like, it's my job. I want to make sure everybody's good. And everybody's good. Everybody's fed. Everybody's got what they need, and then a little bit. We got plans, and we're not planning for cars, and licensing and insurance is going up, and forecasting. And I look at my expenses, and I'm going, well, I got to find ways to cut for me, not for them. So as a dad, I think that's where I find my purpose right now in this season, as being the guy that does those things. And unfortunately, we had to have that hard conversation a week ago. Guys, things just didn't swing our way right now. And we've got things that we just got to be careful with. And we're just not going to do this thing, which is really cool. It's a very privileged thing to do, I think. I could have never imagined that as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
But, my kids are also gracious, and they're like, cool, we're just going to do it here. And so Stacy will go crazy on some gifts and make sure that gets made up in a different way. And I'll sit there and grit my teeth and go, all right.
Did we really need that? No, I love it. Yeah,
I hope that one doesn't get played with once and go in the corner. That's like, dang, that's almost a whole day's worth of work.
And I'll tell you, as kids get older, I'm
a Scrooge too, brother.
Yeah.
And I've chat. I feel like we're there.
Oh, I know I'm Scrooge. I've had the conversation around the dinner table many times this year that guys, there's 5 people sitting at this table.
There's Iowa.
Yep.
Guys.
There's 5 people sitting at this table, and there's only one that's earning. And there's only one who, when you say you need something, there's only one person who says, I don't know if we can afford it or not. Let me check. And, I'm tired of being the no guy.
Yeah.
I am absolutely tired of being the no guy. And
we got to do it, brother.
And, just this week, I absolutely exploded. And it was, my wife and oldest were at Walmart, and they called me and they said, we want to buy this or this. It wasn't can we, it was we want to buy this or this. Which one?
DEFCON 5.
And I blew. And I didn't blow on the phone. I said, I need a couple minutes to process this. And how much money are we talking? And it wasn't very much. To be really honest, it wasn't very much.
But it adds up.
But I was like, I just need some time to process this. And I hung up the phone. And that's when I blew. And I blew to the point that my youngest son came down into the basement like, Dad, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Dad is not okay.
We are not having it.
We're getting ready to have Christmas, for crying out loud. Why are we buying stuff right now?
Well, and it was Christmas decorations.
You gotta love it,
right?
Well, you did say that your son was wanting to decorate the house,
and I was just like, I had reached that point. It's like, you guys have not been listening. You haven't been listening. And when my youngest is like, why are you not okay? I said, because I'm trying to provide Christmas for everybody. And that includes the gifts that you need to go to youth group, and the gifts that you need to go to participate in the grab bag at our big family Christmas. I'm providing all of that. And I'm out here working 2 full-time jobs and a side gig. And we haven't gotten out of debt. We've gone further in. And Dad is not okay. I completely exploded. So yeah, I'm Scrooging, and that's what it was about. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about what they were asking. It was that they asked.
Well, and it goes back to what we were talking about last week, Chad, with the pressure. I mean, look, things are not getting any easier, right?
And you sit there, and
we're
you're
all
like,
making the same amount of money.
And I'm sitting there going, I can't cut from my personal budget anymore. There's nothing in it. Nothing. The next thing that goes wrong with the van, I'm walking. Okay? And that's going to mean the loss of an income stream. So it's like, you gotta at some point the asking's got to stop. You know, I get it. Let me know when you need shoes. Let me know when you need food. Let me know when you need clothes. But that's about all I can handle anymore.
Well, and it's just right
sound
now,
like
too.
a communist. No.
Yeah.
Just
Boy,
joking.
we struck a nerve. I think Chad is a Scrooge. I'm going to say it. I mean, I was feeling bad about myself, and now I hear what Chad said. It's
You feel better now.
It's like, you know, I'm not so bad. No, I'm just joking with you, Chad. But okay. Moving on things, right? Because we rested there a little bit. I think I was planning on doing a shout out a week or two ago, so we're a little late in the game on this. But I just wanted to welcome Bradley Harris, who is the new city manager for North Newton. I believe he's starting here soon. I don't want to get any of this information incorrect, but we know that he's onboarded and that he's official and
Sweet.
he's here. So we're looking forward to meeting Mr. Harris. I think he's a younger guy, which is awesome for North Newton. I'm glad that they found I'm optimistic about the replacement that they've settled on, and we're hoping for good things for North Newton and going forward. Another one that I wanted to point out that Chad could probably talk a little bit about was we didn't talk about Pearl Harbor last week because I don't think that it was on time with it, and we didn't do it in anticipation of it. But as I was reading the Kansan, I read the Kansan editor opinion about what lessons can we learn from more than 90 years ago. And it was so good, Chad, that I thought, man, I want to screenshot that and just share it. But I understand the reason why you guys, don't do that all the time. It's not free. So I always wait. If there's something real good, I wait just a little bit for that to process through, maybe for the next paper to come out, and then I post it if I can. And Chad's never held my feet to the fire over that one. But
Well, if I
it's
try
like,
and slap around everybody who screenshots something or photos something and violates our copyright, it'd be about all I did.
yeah.
So I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Well, the publicity is good on that aspect, but there was some pretty interesting things that you pointed out, which I think will lead into some of the stuff that I want to talk about that's going on at a national level, a state and national level. But you had talked about, or who the Kansan editorial, I didn't see whether it was you or whether it was the editorial board that did it. I'm not sure.
We are one and the same. So yeah.
Okay. Well, see, I don't want to give kudos where, somebody else is involved. I don't want to do that.
I'll go to one of your pet issues of critical thinking.
Yeah.
There's no staff, man. So when you see editorial board,
It's Chad.
it's
oh,
usually
man.
I might have called Mark Schnabel, maybe, because he's the other person writer I have on staff, to get his opinion on something. That happens pretty rarely, to be honest. I might have talked to our photographer to ask about, because she's contracted with us, something, but that, pretty rarely happens. Honestly, when we're talking about editorial opinion. And, I may have done some reading in other places to kind of fill my brain up a little bit before I write it. That's why I call it an editorial board.
And this one in particular, though, it hit me right square in here, okay, and it made me think, and obviously I think that's what your purpose is, but
It's the whole purpose of the page.
You had talked about what the economic factors were going into World War II, why Japan chose, or one of the reasons Japan chose to enter the war, and it had a lot to do with, well, kind of what we see happening right now or gearing up to happen. Am I mistaken with that?
There's a lot of parallels.
Where we go through and we start cutting off resources that other countries depend on. Most wars are fought over resources. A lot of times people don't look as people as resources, but they are. So they're in many ways looking at why we have conflict, especially global conflict, comes down to resources. Natural resources are major things that we have for economic drivers. And I'm not going to turn it into saying that you were talking about Trump and what Trump's trying to do with the sanctions and whatnot that are currently gearing up to happen. But I've often said that I look at it that we are in a on the verge of global conflict. And I would say that we are in World War II, except for instead of countries going head to head, we're using proxy wars, like Ukraine, for instance. There's some other stuff I want to cover, but just give me like give the audience a condensed take if they weren't able to read the opinion piece and what your heart was there, or what you were thinking.
What my heart was and what I was thinking is that the week previous, I had seen a lot of rhetoric about World War III coming and why. And I really think that because of who was creating that rhetoric, they're wrong. Okay? And you're not going to be able to put this at the feet of wrong people. I will not allow for that. Okay? And when you look at the lead up to Pearl Harbor, you know, it's one of the biggest frustrations I have is the way we teach World War II and Pearl Harbor in our history classrooms. Most of the time we start with a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, and we don't look at what was happening before that. That's where it starts. For us in the United States, World War II started with Pearl Harbor. But guess what? World War II had started long before that. Yeah. And the factors that led to Pearl Harbor are pretty simple. Japan was devoid of some of the resources that they desperately needed to operate. Oil was one of them. Okay? And, you know, at the time, the U.S. was supplying that to them, along with some other natural resources that they desperately needed. And we chose to take a look at this empire. It was, at the time, they called themselves an empire, Japanese empire. And we chose to look at them and say, you know, you've been attacking all over Southeast Asia, and you've been trying to, so we're just going to cut you off. We're not selling you that stuff anymore. And so the relationship was not necessarily the best, and then we made that decision. Of course they're going to figure out a way to poke us back. And then we moved a bunch of our fleet into Hawaii, which I don't believe was even a state at the time. Hawaii didn't become a state until later. I might be wrong on that, but so, you know, if Hawaii is not a state and we move the bulk of our fleet in there, Japan is going to look at that as an aggressive act. So they turned around and planned a surprise attack. And it's also important to note that when they attacked in Pearl Harbor, that wasn't the only place that they were going. They went multiple places because they were conquesting and they were trying to get their resources. That's what led into. I mean, it wasn't any accident. It was a surprise attack, yes, but it was no accident. And quite honestly, I don't think it needed to be a surprise. We could have been prepared for that if we'd have been spending our time reading the tea leaves.
And I'll just fact check you right away. Yes, Hawaii became a state August 21st, 1959. And I also want to couple something with that. And I read an interesting book one time. It was not from the take of the United States historical perspective on Pearl Harbor, but there also is the consideration that Japan believed that the new superpower was the German regime. Right. That
they were aligned with the Axis.
It was going in the direction. It didn't look like anybody was going to stop them. It looked like nobody wanted to stop them. And from there, I mean, you know, why not get on board with the future of the world? So Another thing I wanted to point out, and I know that we had talked about Mr. Knapp before, but he wrote a very interesting article in the Kansas, if you can get it. And there's still a lot of people talking about this, about Joe Biden pardoning his son and the upcoming pardons that are. I mean, this is not something that's going away. I take it back, and I'll say after watching the news all week, I will tout the fact that I truly believe I was correct in what is transpiring, which is that the Democrat Party and other individuals are laying this loss at the feet of Joe. Their policies, trying to distance themselves slightly from it, make it Joe's policies, not the Democrat Party policies. And now, obviously, this pardon is the icing on the cake. But Joe has a lot more pardons left in him. I promise you that. So, Andy, on the issue of pardoning, moving away from him pardoning his son and that being so personal, what are your thoughts about the process of pardoning in general? A lot of people are starting to question whether or not we should have some kind of change or constitutional amendment of some kind to be able to put it back in the power of the people's hands to say, this pardoning thing has gone too far. What are your thoughts? I mean, the fact that, and granted, we can't change it while we're sitting here talking amongst ourselves, but do you think that the president should continue to have the power to pardon whomever they choose for whatever reason?
I think it's always healthy to look at things, but I just think, just like everything else, it's people choose to focus on something. It's usually political reasons, political banter. And now they want to rise something to the top because it helps their argument, their side, their way of thinking. The list is there, right? I really haven't thought much about it. I think it's fine. I think if somebody rises to that place and the majority of the country put them there in whatever situation, wherever we're at, that should be okay. Do I think it's healthy to look at things when there could be gaps in a situation? Yeah, but I have really no problems with what's happening right now. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. You're going to have some people that say great, some people not. I told you how I feel about it because that's as honest as I could be about it for myself. Outside of that, I really don't have a big dog in that fight. I think there's so many things to worry about the possibility of going to war and people playing with real big conversations and looking at some of the interviews that have come out, and could they be manipulations from the other side? Always. People are sharp, people are positioning, but I think there's a group out there that knows how to do it better than the other, and I think America has forgot what it has to leverage for the greater good of the whole, and we just got to be real careful on how we do it.
Yeah.
And we've got to hurt the least amount of people possible as we move forward.
And speaking of executives, it's kind of, I threw out a hook. I forced you to answer a question maybe that I didn't have, you weren't prepared to answer, but it comes back to this. It's not just what happens at the federal level though, right? Because I had a listener screenshot something that they saw on Cake News this week, and it had to do with our own executive branch here in the state of Kansas, Governor Laura Kelly, granting clemency to someone. Now, this comes from Cake News. It's a surreal moment. A Kansas man is home after serving 2.5 years of a nearly 8-year prison sentence for possessing 2.4 pounds of marijuana with the intention to distribute. Thanks to his mother's advocacy, the Last Prisoner Project, his attorneys, and Governor Laura Kelly, he gets the chance to start over fresh. Headline: Kansas man returns home after governor grants clemency for nonviolent marijuana conviction. Now, here's my question. How many people are currently incarcerated right now for the exact same thing that have no hope of any clemency whatsoever? And how does it that one gets singled out, not being a hater here, but once again, it goes back to this executive authority from our governmental branches, be it at a Kansas level,
where's the
across
bias
the 50
there? Is there
states.
any bias? Was it pure? What is the circumstance?
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, wow, that must be nice. So maybe I don't know the whole story, but I'm relying on Cake News for it. So that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get the whole story. I tried to dig into this a little bit, and it seems like it's really just on the face. So somebody could say I'm a hater and say, well, everybody that's, caught with possession of marijuana with intent to distribute should be pardoned. They shouldn't be incarcerated. And I'm not going to argue that, because I think locking people up for drugs should be old news. I mean, I think there's a point in which, like now Senator Stephen Owens, when he was on the committee and he helped get these legislation passed at the state level to be able to get people who are suffering from drug addiction where they need to be and get the help they need to get, even at mental health levels, rather than this incarcerate them, lock them up and throw away the key because they're substance users. So I'm not trying to be a hater, but it just with the whole pardoning of Joe Biden that he's doing, and now at our state level, it comes into our micro view, not macro view, our micro view. And the micro view is well, this is just something that's going to continue no matter what, and people are going to get. Why do some get and why do some not? And should there be some kind of oversight somewhere along the way for people to have checks and balances on what the president's doing?
So there's two pieces, I think. There's a federal piece and then there's a state piece here, right? So there's probably two different sets of guidelines. And again, should people look at those things from time to time? Sure. I think, do we make too much of the stuff? I think it's our job to step back and realize what's going on in the bigger picture, the big political climate, and go, are we getting sucked into the vortex? And how much time should we be in the vortex? And I would say it's like one time there was a grass fire here at my house, right? And me and my son, I lit some things off to burn some stuff around we call it the poop pond. And I was burning out some stuff and getting some limbs and stuff out of there. And it's time to burn it up. And it was questionable, but it wasn't real bad, the wind. And so I did that. My son was younger, still learning how to do stuff. I had my back over here and I was trying to get the fire from going somewhere. And I didn't turn around for a while, thinking he was doing what I instructed him to do. Turn around and realize how far it ran, right? Because I was distracted. And then realized there was a much bigger problem over here, and I needed to give that attention quick. And if I would have every 30 to 45 seconds took a glance over there, I would have never let it get that far. But I think this is one of those circumstances where we have to be careful to go down these rabbit holes that are literally set up for us to do exactly what we're doing now and say, where are the big problems? War and world war is a big attention focused thing. Yes. Talking nuclear war, that's horrific language that shouldn't even exist, but it does because humans are crazy, right? And then so you're talking that language, and then we're talking this language. I think some are distractions. Is it hard to pick out with algorithms and everything going on today where we should be? Yeah, but I think that's where, Lance, you always talk about being informed to self and going, if I had a list of 10 things with everything going on with the economy, energy stuff, climate stuff, immigration stuff, everything going on right now, does that need the attention? In my personal opinion, it's pretty clear. I would much rather have immigration issues at the top 2 or 3 and really honing in on that and what the reality is versus this other stuff that probably will run its media cycle. Yeah. But no change will probably be made. Just like immigration for the last 40 years, that's not been choked out and figured out because they talk about allowing 1 million people to come in legally a year. That's not happening. Yeah. And the process of that happening efficiently is the speed of government, which needs to be fixed with technology. But then they can create apps to do all kinds of other counter things to make that system even worse and to cause more issue and separation between a group of people that need to come together. Our birth rates are down. There's more talent than ever everywhere in the world that we could be borrowing, using, and creating things to push out to the rest of the world. But we're choosing to fight over really ridiculous things.
Yeah. Well, doesn't it almost seem like pay attention to this, pay attention to this, while all this is going on? No. Pay attention to this.
That's exactly my point.
It's a WMD. It's a WMD that falls into Chad's statement of we need to evaluate right, wrong, and legal. And guess what? Sometimes those things are not the same. So when I use the term WMD, I'm using the term weapon of mass distraction.
Good call.
Right?
That's good.
That's what it is. And when we're talking about this whole pardon thing, then again, I'm going to bring up, is it right, is it wrong, or is it legal? And believe you me, there's a reason that I go with 3 different categories. Is what Joe Biden did legal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no two ways about it. No one's asking the question that I think needs to be asked on that is, why did our founding fathers write the Constitution in that way?
Yeah.
Can we ask that question?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing.
And at the end of the day, what you're going to find out is it was written in that way. It's fair. It's just everybody that is a president has that same right.
So here's the thing with this, what we're saying here. I think best way I can explain it as a layman person. Me and my son are in that position. I'm getting him out of it. Unless he molested a child or raped a woman. I'm getting him out of it. Mm-hmm. And we'll deal with the rest later. I don't care what people think about me. That's my boy. My boy knows I burn everything down to protect him. Up to those 2 pieces. There may be others. I haven't really processed it because God forbid he ever puts me in that position, or himself, more importantly. But I would hope that because I am that weak as a human and as a man, because my love for my boy, that somebody would stop me from doing it, or there was something in place to keep me from doing that, because it's no question that I would do that for him.
Yes.
So that's kind of the scale that I look at this. It's not about me because I'm weak. I'm a freaking fallible piece of crap human being. A lot of times. I try not to be, but that try is a really hard thing for me. It's very exhausting. I have to work really hard to be average, decent.
Well,
So think about that. You have all these people. I don't know this guy's heart. I don't know where Kelly's coming from. I don't know her weaknesses and her strengths. They may be opposite than mine. And she may be all holier than thou on some things that I think are no problem for me. But that's what individuals are about.
You can debate whether it's right or wrong.
Right. But
What
do we
you
have
can't
mechanisms
debate
in
is
place?
whether it's legal.
Right.
Agreed.
And this is
Agreed.
where you're coming from, right? I mean, he did something that was not illegal. And he is the president. It's a small sliver of people that will ever be in a position to be able to do that. Now, should we have something in place because man is man?
Well, I know. I'll throw. I'm going.
The debate is good.
I'm going to go into the
Because
weeds. I'm going to go into the weeds.
there is a limit
Okay.
to his pardon power.
Well, there is. We talked about that last week.
But there is only one.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is into the weeds. I just want to brush on this before we move on to something else, because I got 2 more things I want to cover on the program. So it might seem like we're bouncing around a little bit, but I try to do my best to put it in an order in which flows. So it's not as easy
Good
as
luck
you think
with
it
this
is. Yeah. It's really not as easy as one might think it is,
You know
especially
what that
to
means
cover
in my
a bunch of
culture, right?
Hey,
Means
this
different things.
This
Five
is a
o'clock somewhere.
PC show, guys. Okay. So I will say this: if you ever get a chance, look up Benjamin Tucker. Benjamin Tucker was a famous anarchist, and he wrote about the U.S. and our design of government. And he said it's his belief that yes, United States is the best form of government because it is a representative government, which means that there is the most ability for the individual citizen to participate in their governmental process by electing their representatives to go to Congress and make laws that then govern themselves. So his biggest hiccup was that because of the human factor, there was not enough checks and balances, and this could be one of those exact reasons that he's talking about. Yes, it's great if every man that goes to Washington is ethical and moral If we are living by an ethical, moral society where we choose to govern ourselves first and what is right, and not use our position as a power to change or abuse our position, that then makes there an element of forever inequality and hypocrisy, then our government will fall apart in the future.
Yeah. Well, and this is what's happening, right?
We're watching it happen.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
almost prophetic. I hate to quote an anarchist of all people,
Well,
but
my
Benjamin
thing lined
Tucker,
up with his is you put me in there and we're going to have problems. But hopefully, I'm going to give some shout out and love to one of my great friends. His name is Stephen Owens, who we align in a lot of things. But what he's done for us as a friendship group, and the guy who I can look to hold me to the fire and not do those things that I would do, is so important. To have relationships with people that'll say, I love you, dude, but this is a problem. And to have the emotional intelligence to realize that he really means well for me while he does that, because some of it has not been comfortable, right? And I think as people, we need those checks and balances. So coming from an anarchist or whoever, the human factor is so real in everything we do. I mean, we have a board of education in Newton that the human factor is so palatable when people are just a certain way and they can't get over those ways for the greater good of the whole. Including myself at times. But see, the difference between me and other people is I try real hard to check that at the door, knowing that I have to be cognizant of it and I'm not always right. And I need to listen to other people's feedback and at least try to understand where they're coming from to the best of my ability, until it becomes ridiculous, right? Then you start calling it out. But at the end of the day, the human factor, Lance, is brutal and it will never go away. We can plan till we're blue in the face, but I would say that you look at people and you see who do they have around them, who do they hang with, and who are they accountable to? And do they keep each other in check so they won't do those things that are inappropriate when you want to? It comes down to your circle of influence. And are you willing to be a part of a group of people that says when they'll tell you to stop when you need to stop?
yeah.
I call those knucklehead friends.
Yeah. Well, and you
That's
gotta
what I
have
call 'em.
people that surround you, especially, it's said oftentimes, and I hold to this because this is so true in my life, is show me your friends and I'll show you and I'll tell you your future. So that is a true thing. So once again, who you surround yourself with matters with where you're going and what your life is going to look like 5-10 years down the road. And that is a absolute truth. Speaking of another thing, while we're talking about political philosophies, I brought up anarchism. I've been many times called an egalitarianist. And I just want to give a definition of that, okay? It's a political philosophy that promotes equality, not equity, equality for all people, especially in social, economic, and political matters. It's almost like a realist. I'm a egalitarian. Okay. Anyway, just throw this out. Okay. So speaking of politics and what's going on at a national level and what's going on across the globe and everything, I don't know if you guys saw in the news, but the Assad regime in Syria has fallen. And if you do a little bit of history on this, it was something that was started during the Obama administration. It was during the Arab Spring. I wanted to do a little bit of research on who these militant groups are, or is it one militant group that has now toppled the Assad regime. This has been 13 years in the making, and they just took over Damascus, which is the capital. So for anybody wondering who these rebels are, they align themselves with the Islam Brotherhood, I think is what it's called, and Al-Qaeda. So when all of these things were taking place, and you're looking at what's going on a global stage, and we're seeing what's going on in Israel right now, and we're watching all of this, and we're talking about World War III, coupled with the fact that over time, what started 13 years ago has just now came to fruition. Many, many, many people have died throughout this. Many, many, many children, women. There is, no explanation for it. And we'll probably never know in a full scope. But guess what we haven't heard anything about for the last decade? What's going on in Syria? So, to say that media organizations don't pick and choose what they talk about, I just want to be able to cover this because I'm seeing on a lot of mainstream media, both left and right, that this is a huge win for Syria. This is a huge win for the Middle East. I can't see that to be the case when you're talking about organizations like the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. What are your guys' thoughts?
Are you saying that this is a case of be careful what you wish for? Because what you're going to get may be worse than what you had? Could be, but we don't know that yet. Straight up. We just don't.
I don't see it as a good thing, but I already said that, Andy.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that. I'd have to look into it. From the little bit that I do know over the last few years of paying attention to that stuff out there, I'm more worried about how we're playing a part in it with funding mechanisms and where's our Pentagon with all of this and where's our military with all of this, given that there's people out there doing funny things in funny industries even, and it all ties back to money and oil and markets. It's a big mess, and we're playing a pretty sketchy game with a lot of people, and there's been so much death and murder. My little brain can't even wrap itself around the tragedy. And until we really think about the people first, we can have all these intellectual conversations all day long. But when we're funding the Taliban to the tune of $20 million a month, we just had our people at war with them about 4 years ago. It's just mind-boggling to me how we justify some of these plays. And I know there's smart people out there that are doing things for reasons that I probably don't fully understand. But on its face, it looks really bad. And I can't imagine some of my friends who have PTS, that it's very traumatic. And phone calls that I've gotten from friends of mine at 3 a.m. that I will never understand where they're at. But they sometimes feel like they don't have anybody to call. And I'm from a safe place in their life before they were where they're at today. I take them back to maybe nostalgia and memories when we were kids. So that's why they're comfortable calling me, because I love those guys. And there's 2 of them in particular. They know who they are. We've done some horrific things out there, and some of our people are really hurt. And then to know that our own government, the people who sent them there, are giving them money. I just don't know how I would deal with that.
Well, and then the question becomes, after 20 years of war, what effect did we have?
Whew.
As much as we've been over
enemies.
there,
We've created a generation of people where we've killed their dads and their moms and their brothers and sisters, and put people in orphanages, and you don't think they're going to look for the first plane ticket or train or mission to come back and do whatever they can do to get back at us? Because all they see is the U.S. They don't see us as individuals, and they don't know how many of us are hurting because of what's gone on out there. And they look at our soldiers who were mandated to go there, thinking they're doing the right thing for our country, and maybe they were. I don't understand the whole picture because it's so gloomy, and I don't think, for God willing, 300 or 400 years we'll really start unpacking that in a real way, because it'll be far enough away from us we could be objective about it, because it's so close to us right now. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around all that, Lance. It's just that's a big topic that I haven't researched much, other than, to be frank with you, I feel like I avoid it because it hurts, because I have friends that have been affected to a degree that I worry about them.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, our generation. Our generation was the one that went there.
My dudes.
In the understanding that we were going to topple a regime that was responsible or partially responsible for 9/11.
I have friends that went into the military in 1998, 99, right when we graduated, that shortly after went to war and have been there ever since. And they are committed to our country. And they're not okay.
Well, and it's because of how our country does them. I mean, I hate to say it. It goes back to...
We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not right. Yeah. We've got to figure it out. And what we've done to other countries, when you get back here and you get time to process and you see these things that they see and they talk, they're not, they're all over it because they're so invested. So the things we think we know are nothing.
Yeah.
And they're going, what the heck did we do that for? And you have all this trauma and these experiences and the loss of people that they're so close to. You can't even, I will never comprehend the relationships they have with those people in that kind of environment. And then you got the other country and the damage we've created there. Can we pick out some things and say, these are some good things?
Well, and I got to say it. History would prove, now granted, for those that listen to the program and realize that we're talking about things that are big world things, that are talking about global and national things, we're not saying that we are professionals in this situation. I'm definitely not like your mainstream media where I'm reading a teleprompter that somebody else writes for me so that I can be a professional. Okay, we're just cussing and discussing these things that are big topics, and really the whole point, just so you know, is that it gets the mind going. It allows for us to talk about real world big things that we already know everybody's talking about, or they're seeing, or they're watching, and it's just to get them brain juices going for you to think about what's going on, for you to really hear other people's, and know that you can sit around a table and you can talk about things like this. All right, and that we're all watching, waiting for something to be different and change. But I'll say this. America's forte, and one of the things that absolutely about America is detestable to me, so we'll just call it this, is the fact that we have perfected the understanding that as long as we keep the war going on over there, that it doesn't come here. If we get involved in picking a side when it comes to Ukraine or Russia, that as long as we keep funding it, as long as those people keep dying, as long as they're at war, then that's weakening our enemy. So the friend of my enemy is my friend type of a mentality. Of all of these actions that we've had across the globe since Vietnam, I would say, and I'm sure pissed some people off by saying this, but how many of them had a lasting effect or change that was beneficial to not only ourselves, but the rest of the world? You have one, point it out.
Put it in the comments below.
Put it in the comments. We can have this discussion. And the truth of the matter is I'm not 100% knowledgeable on all this stuff, but that doesn't mean that just because you're not an expert in it, that you can't have an opinion. Because I'll tell you, in today's society, the experts, the people that are the experts, that we would say are the experts because it's General so-and-so on Fox News, there's an agenda being pushed there as well. They wouldn't be there on...
people teaching business classes that never ran a business in their life.
Yeah.
And that's rampant in the academic world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of experts that haven't exercised in that field. Now there's others. There's the other extreme of that, right? But to your point, just because titles are out there doesn't mean much. It just really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think people are hip to that nowadays. There are still some people that are like, well, they have this or that piece of paper or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I know people that have gone to school for computers. And pretty interesting when you're out in the field doing it.
Because what they know and what they may not know is dependent upon how well they understood the information. So there's still the human factor.
100%.
You can go to college and you can get an education, but that doesn't mean that you have the capacity and the aptitude to apply it.
I didn't learn how to build a PC in a classroom.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, then that doesn't mean you're qualified.
I learned how to build it when somebody said, here's a job, now go figure it out.
Okay, one more thing we want to cover before, and I know we're getting just a little bit late here, trying to keep it at an hour, but we're a little over, and hopefully I don't open up a can of worms here. But after talking with my daughter, all right, my little sweet sunshine, Emmy Sunshine, my only daughter out of 6 children, so of course she's got a special place in my heart. She called me up and she said, "Dad, did you hear what happened?" And I said, "No, I mean, what happened? Type of a thing," right? Because it's like you come at me like that. Well, there's lots of stuff that's happening around here and everywhere else and under the sun. But she goes, "I think they're going to ban TikTok." And I
we're
thought,
back to this one again.
Interesting. Yes, I'm interested. So I thought that they were already going to move in the direction to do that. And she's like, "You should really talk on your program about them banning TikTok." And I said, "Well, what are your thoughts, Emmy?" And she said, "Well, I don't understand why they're choosing to ban one but not ban the others, as though some way or another TikTok is just the worst. What does, because it comes from China or whatever the case may be." We talked a little bit about that. She's a brilliant young girl, able to, just a brilliant young girl. Okay. So it's not lacking in her ability because I'm condensing what I'm saying. We had a really good conversation about it where she's very grounded in it, which we don't have time to talk about today, but it's been moving forward. Okay. It says here, and I looked it up just to make sure I verified it, okay, that TikTok, I better find it real quick. Oh, no. Appeals court upholds TikTok ban, declining to block law that would force sale. So TikTok and an appeals court, okay, so not yet the Supreme Court, a federal appeals court upheld a law that will ban TikTok in the U.S. in the coming months if the Chinese parent company doesn't sell its stake in the app. What are you guys' thoughts?
That's a slippery one because, I mean, the back ends are back ends. I mean, unless you're Apple, you're giving away so much data and information. I'm wondering what the risk is versus the attention we're putting on it, because we've been giving data away for a long time.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. All of them take your data and establish a profile.
And it's been for
on
a long time. And those people that are new to the boat that just go, "Oh my gosh, they can do what?" And the algorithms are, and I heard somebody, it blows me away. I just heard somebody about a week ago, probably in their mid-50s, say, "Man, and you know what? Sometimes it's weird because you'll be looking for something and then you'll see it pop up over here. It's almost like they're paying attention to you." And it was dead serious about it.
God bless their heart. That's all I can say.
But it's not just a few people, though.
No, they don't understand how it works.
That's just wild to me.
They don't understand. Speaking of this conversation, I know I'm interrupting Chad because
I'm not. Hold on. Let me preface. I'm not being disrespectful.
No.
It's you got to zoom out sometimes because the world I'm in. I mean, that's like. I mean, I've got touchscreen technology in here from 2010 that we created in here, like on the other side of this wall. And so I've been in the mud for a long time, and sometimes you forget. It's like, whoa, you got to realize what customer facing looks like in a different way. And as a media person, Chad, for all those years, and Lance, getting involved with the back end like you're doing and learning how to create your own podcast and understanding out and the way you're diving into it, put 15 years on that.
Yeah.
And the foundation of it, like the certificates to be able to develop on certain platforms and connecting APIs and knowing, because you're in the back end of it, you're seeing this stuff take place real time, and user UIs, user interfaces, and how they changed and why they change them. And when you go into an app, why is it formatted that way? Well, I can tell you about the code on the back end of why they're doing it and the reason they connected it to something else.
Blow your mind.
But it's just what you do every day and every week, and you spend thousands and thousands of hours in a space playing with these toys, and you realize you look to your left and you're going, oh, that person is one of the best mechanics you will ever run into. And they could fix something in 10 minutes that would take me a day and a half. And they just know, but they have no clue about this piece. And it's not just a little bit of people. There's a lot of people.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It really is absolutely 100% mind-blowing, folks. There is absolutely no way to conceptualize, because every time you get to that next point and you realize, wow, it's really like that. Oh no, they're 10 steps down the road on that. On what they can do. In fact, it was funny, just like I said, I'm interrupting Chad here, but I was talking with a friend about it, and he said, yeah, he's like, I don't have YouTube, because he was talking about wanting to watch the program and more often, and wants to see if there's a different platform that he can watch the program on. And I said YouTube, and he's like, yeah. He's like, my wife has a YouTube account, but she got on to me this week. She doesn't want me to search things from her phone because it messes up her algorithms, and then she starts seeing a bunch of stuff that she doesn't want to see. Chad?
I got nothing to
ban
be honest.
TikTok, don't ban TikTok. What are your thoughts? I know you're a free speech guy, and I know that it's free use. Does it extend to free use, Chad, where you should have the right to use whatever platform you so choose or not?
Here's a question. Are you a small government guy or a big government guy?
Yeah, good question.
Well, yeah,
because
it depends on what I think.
And quite honestly, for me, it depends on the issues as to whether I'm a small government guy or a big government guy.
To us all.
And when I read that what bill was signed and what it does, I'm sitting there going, dude, the small government guy in me is like, what the F are you doing? You are picking the company that can take this over. That really feels like a massive government overreach to me. Massive.
Well, you got to get the Chinese, Chad.
Well, of course. This is all about this is all about the fact that you've got you've got a company that's based in China that owns it. And then
they're lied about it profusely, though.
Yes.
Just saying.
And they're
there's
scared
a problem.
that the Chinese government is going to be able to harvest data on all of us. Well, guess what? This is just one small tool that the Chinese government might be able to and is probably already using.
Oh, 100%.
Well, why can't Facebook just data mine us and then sell that information to China?
Ho says that's not happening now anyways.
That's the point.
There you go. So here we have...
It is, absolutely.
What we have is now our government stepping in.
Well, CIA is not going to confirm nor deny.
Allegedly. I'm not going to speak on an open investigation.
Yeah.
Well, I will say
tired
that
of that phrase.
Yeah, oh man, isn't it something? And there's some truth to that on the legalese side. That's a good blanket to hide under, and we created that ourselves with our system. But it does bother me at great length when we have a visitor from another country here that's being questioned, and they lie over and over again. It's also sad to watch people asking questions that got it from a person, and they really can't tie them down because they don't know the systems well enough to be able to follow up with the next best questions, because sometimes they're right up on top, but they can't really get there because they don't really know. And a guy like me is going crazy, going, "Oh, you're almost there! Oh, put it behind his back. There you go in 3 seconds." You know what I mean?
And then
they don't get them. They don't get them because they don't know themselves. They have some concept, yes, an overview, but they don't know how to really tie that down. And these people know that, and they get out of it. But it's sad, and that does tell you, though, that if you're not being honest about something, there's a manipulation in there somewhere, and there's a reason they're holding that information from us. But I will tell you that they are conditioning our children through those tools, and Instagram is the worst. And there's actually studies that have been done that they try to keep it from the government. that the females, the young teenage females, are the worst targeted from that platform. And the way they're doing it, what they're doing to keep them on that platform causes a major amount of depression and anxiety. It is so bad for their brain. Talk about brain rot.
Yep.
When you are using a platform to condition people, like we've talked about the McDonald's things, I'm sure if you've been around me, you've heard that story. That's so mind-blowing to me. I use that with almost everything I do when we're creating tools and stuff, because conditioning is huge. It takes time, but once you do it, when you see Jake Paul at 16 doing that dance, how old is he now?
I have no idea.
Gotta be in the late 20s.
I've never paid attention to the dude.
So it's 16 to 27 or 28. When he's doing a dance that's online, it's a very famous clip. He was 16 years old. He's 27, 28, just pulled off one of the big marketing wows in America, in the world, recently. Made hundreds of millions of dollars and will continue to make hundreds of millions off of that for the next 5 years. Okay? This guy might be a billionaire off of this skill set.
Of effective marketing.
He's learned to use a tool and follow the leaders of that tool to not be a consumer, but a producer, and become wealthy. Most people don't look at things that way.
No.
They look at it as a consumer.
And they don't even realize that's the way it is.
100%.
Yeah.
No, TikTok is conditioning the young people. This is fact. It's conditioning them to do exactly what Jake Paul did as a consumer. If you go to their country, you are getting awards for the best mathematician. You are getting science accolades for developing and building something or creating something new. You are the best welder in your area. You are known and you get points in their system.
Which puts their content out in front of people.
Which creates Jake Paul's in a different way for another country as producers.
Yeah. Oh, except for what they're doing is
this is real
reward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is a new way of, do you call it war? Do you call it manipulation? What is the term? They're taking things we've created, they're reverse engineering them back on us and beating the hell out of us with it.
Well, it's psychological warfare for certain.
You walk in a room
psychological warfare
with a bat. They took the bat from you. They put a bunch of nails through it, and now they're using it on you. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is.
All right, we come to the end of the program, everybody. We ran late, but I want to give Chad and Andy both the opportunity to give their last word, and then I have a last word at the end. So, Chad, what do you got for us?
I want to send some congratulations out there. I'm gonna be proud papa for 1 second. My son finished his first high school wrestling event 2-1. His only loss was to a teammate. And he won an overtime match in such a fashion that I'm just ridiculously proud. And so kudos to him. But I also want to give a shout out to Lucas Kaufman. That dude started his wrestling season this week by beating the #1 kid in the state at his weight class.
Congratulations.
So congrats. No pressure. Seriously, I'm not doing this to put pressure on you, man, but you need to be lifted up and you need to be celebrated for beating that kid.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'll say the same. Andy?
That's cool. Shout out to the Rareliners. They came and we got to celebrate them recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that was really cool. They competed at a high level, kind of in the dark. They went out there, did their best without a lot of reconnaissance or anything like that. They ended up faring out really, really well. They brought home second place. They fought schools that have, as in their words, lots of resources that we don't have. But I tell you what, our kids are just as talented. And they were up there with the best of them. So very proud of that group. And it was exciting to be able to celebrate them. And some of those young gals on that team I've known since they were real itty bitty from church and other things. And so it's really cool to see them mature and grow and becoming the young ladies that they're becoming. And they're going to be good people and do great things in this world. And I just love seeing that. And it's the holiday season. This is a tough season for a lot of people. I got a message the other day at about, this is a tough one, about 3 a.m. friend of mine that passed away that we had a very special connection throughout our lives. And, there's timelines in people's lives, and some people go one way and some people go another. And I have a message from him that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. That was kind of later when we had parted ways and chose different lives. And it was very impactful to get that message. And I've always leaned on it when things got hard and when I start questioning where I'm at and what I'm doing and is it worth it. And so I just want to say shout out to him and his family. Andy, love you, man. We have some mutual friends that we're still in contact with, and one of my friends was very influential in his life. So we got to keep going, keep reaching in and pulling up and doing all we can for people to take advantage of the opportunities that are given to them. And I will say Andy must have been, he was a lot of things, but one of the things, if you really knew him, he had the biggest heart in the world, and he's one of the most loyal people you will ever have in your circle. Loyal to a fault. So we'll miss him. During this time of year, those things are hard for people. Just reach out to people and let them know that they're cared about, they're loved, and you're thinking about them. Random text messages are a good thing sometimes, especially this time of year, of encouragement to others. So especially when you're having a hard time, reach out to somebody. It'll fix your day pretty quick.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to end on a negative note, or I would say a warning, coupled with what we talked about today. I didn't know how I was going to put it in the program, but I figured it would be my final word, and that you can look it up if you'd like. It comes from Forbes. The article was December 6, 2024. The heading is FBI warns smartphone users hang up and create a secret word now. If you didn't know, you need to be aware that now the FBI has warned that the following examples of AI being used in cyber attacks are mostly publishing related. But if you're not aware and what capabilities AI has, and when it's used for the wrong reasons, some of the ways you need to be looking out for right now are the use of generative AI to produce photos to share with victims so as to convince them they are speaking to a real person. The use of generative AI to create images of celebrities or social media personas promoting fraudulent activity. Short audio clips containing the voice of a loved one or close relative in a crisis situation to ask for financial assistance. Real-time video chats with alleged company executives, law enforcement, or other authority figures. And videos to prove the online contact is a real person. So we really are living in these times. If you get a strange call, if you get a strange message, they have the ability, people have the ability through AI to take my voice, call you, and tell you in my voice whatever they want to say. So, especially for your loved ones, we were talking about people that are above a certain age, just people that are a little less understanding of this. When you're in this age demographic that is the most vulnerable, be careful, look out, make sure that your eyes are wide open, and that not everything you see is real. Not everything you hear is real. It's not. We'll catch you next week, everybody.